Just one big joke. It's a fucked up world. Here we are in. I ain't going nowhere.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Reason Reborn, episode 43. We're almost a full year of episodes. 9 away. Wow. Doing this for a long time. Anyway, here with the reigning, defending champion, Cardiacsumo. What's up? At the channel I enter Paul Heyman. That shit was just gold.
I don't intend on defending ever, so fuck you. How's it going, people? Doing all right on this wonderful Tuesday. Got a lot of interesting news.
And it's the news that mostly popped up today, which is weird.
Within the last couple hours or so.
Like, as much as you probably hate and loathe this administration, you gotta admit it's so full of entertainment. Like,
entertainment.
You never want for a news story. That's for sure. That's for damn sure. And you know, while he needs to get the fuck out as soon as possible, I have to admit it will make the podcast a lot boring, more boring. Once the world stabilizes, becomes normal. Like, the normal world's problems aren't just gonna seem as entertaining as this.
I mean, I'm sure we could talk about like a wider variety of issues.
I mean, yeah, we definitely can, but it's we're in a captivated moment in history, like where we're just gridlocked. Like, you can't avoid it in a way. Like, as much as I hate talking about it, it's just hard to avoid it.
I see the news get slammed all the time for covering the administration like this, and it's like, what are you supposed to do? That's like if the house was on fire and you kept talking about it, and it's like, I'm sorry, the house is on fucking fire. We have to talk about this. It's the most pressing thing in the world right now.
Yeah. It's hard to ignore. And it's the funny thing is, when you look at the scope of world news, the rest of the world kind of is more stable. Like, you had that thing with Turkey where the guy came out and said, no, I don't agree with the law, so I want to change it, you know, stuff like that. But you have, at the same time, one could make an argument that his stance is inspired by this current U.S. administration, who has frequently said things like, I don't agree with the law, so I'm going to do what the fuck I want. So even then, like, the one fucking world story that I can pull, you can probably relate to this administration. That's how sad this time is.
There have certainly been arguments about this administration inspiring many other changes. It might be the other way around, though. It could just be that this is the way the world is. There has been talk about lots of trends in at least the Western world, as far as populism, for example. So I don't know that Trump is the primary cause, but I'm sure he's like gas on the fire that is burning through the West.
Yeah, definitely. It's sad. It's very, very sad. But let's jump into the fire that is Trump. So the week started off kinda with Rudy Giuliani doing his usual idiocy, where he did an interview. He did a bunch of interviews this past Sunday on different news outlets. And in those interviews, he basically coined a term that makes no damn sense, where in a discussion about truth and Trump testifying, he exclaimed that the truth is not the truth. The whole sum of it was, he felt like just because Trump said something under oath, it wasn't necessarily true. He was just telling you what is the truth so he doesn't get in trouble. And that doesn't necessarily make it the truth, because that truth may not be the real truth. It was a weird weird breakdown that he gave that confused the hell out of who was it who did that interview? I forget who was it. Cuomo? Who did it?
I don't think so. I think it was thought it was Chuck Todd. I can't remember.
Yeah, it was Todd. And he confused the hell out of him, and of course continued the day going and expounding on that whole truth isn't truth thing. And I remember you said to me that you felt like we're in an Orwellian situation, which is kind of fucking true. Because why? That is the most bizarre, surreal thing I've ever heard. And this is Rudy Gianni we talking about, who said some really fucked up, bizarre, and perplexing things. I think he may have like raised the bar for himself with this one.
Sure.
What do you think of this whole situation?
So, it's very depressing. And what I had said at the time was, the term Orwellian is being used a lot, especially in the news, to the point where it feels overplayed. But when I heard him say that, I was like, I just don't know what else to call this. Maybe there's another word for this, but if you've read, Orwell's works, his most famous being like 1984, Animal Farm. He's had some essays and shit. It just creepily reminds me of that. And the reason I go to that term too is because when I was in high school, my favorite book, maybe even to this day, was 1984 by George Orwell. And it's interesting. I remember that book always standing out to me because it was kind of scary in the sense that there was this, big brother always watching you idea where, like, the scene that always sticks out in my mind is where Winston is like working out in his apartment or his home or whatever, and he's watching that workout video, and then I think he starts like slacking off or something, and then the person on the other side of the screen like yells at him, which is like a nice little indicator that even they are watching him, so that, you're always under surveillance. There's no real privacy in that world. And that had always kind of creeped me out because, with all the cameras you see out in the world, our attachments to webcams and phone cameras and all this stuff, it increasingly started to feel back then to me like we were inching toward that. And for me, that was really always the threat of Orwell's stories, or at least 1984 per se, was that we were inching toward this place where we had no privacy. But now, the second part of that is this idea that truth doesn't exist. And while that always scared me in Orwell's work, I guess that I never really entertained that it was that possible to do, because I've never, there's been societies that have done this type of thing. I'm sure, more dictatorial societies, they might be more used to it, but I'd never really experienced, an adult speaking that way in a real life before. So it was not something I took at the time as a serious threat. But you hear this guy saying truth isn't truth, and it almost made me want to go back and read 1984 because it felt like it was ripped out of the pages or something. It was so fucking surreal. And that is where we're going toward, where there's this desire to just destroy any idea of objective reality and any anchor we have to it. It makes me want to look up a few 1984 quotes because it just feels like it came right out of Orwell's one of his books. It's crazy.
It's a weird thing that we're in this country where people always talk about, freedom of speech, freedom of choice, and stuff like that. That we have given. I say we now, knowing that not me, not you, not many of us have done this, but it just seems like this country has given itself over to the thing that it fought against for so long, or that they claim they fight against. It's like freedom of speech is being very much tested right now. Freedom of having your own thoughts being tested. They're going all out to kind of train you how to think, how to view things, which is very dystopian and I don't like that, because it's just like, how are you going to tell me that, look, you can't believe that if this guy says something under oath that is necessarily true. So if he says he did it, that doesn't mean he did it. Or, the whole issue with how Trump came out also this week in tweets talking about, if I wanted to, I could run this investigation. It's like,
false.
No.
Just factually not true.
Yeah, it was just factually, but at the same time, you kind of fear that because you look at some of the moves that they've made to change things. Like, well, while it's not true now, he has a puppet in the Department of Justice. He has plenty of other lawmakers willing to change things and maneuver and massage things to give him what he wants. It's not out of the realm that this guy can get that, considering the way that all the components of the government are working right now. I mean, Congress is doing whatever they can, like the whole thing with the Supreme Court justice, where they sealed his records from being admissible during his hearing. Like, nobody can look at certain records to find out just what this guy has done in his career. How do we know, like, he didn't do some really fucked up shit? None of that can be questioned. It's just...
It's kind of depressing. I found myself, while you were looking up some 1984 quotes, and they really do feel like in line. Like, a couple that stick out to me: power is in tearing human minds to pieces and putting them together again in new shapes of your own choosing, which kind of feels like what they're always trying to do every day. A good one here.
The narrative.
Reality exists in the human mind and nowhere else. Like, doublethink is that. Excuse me. That doublethink means the power of holding two contradictory beliefs in one's mind simultaneously and accepting them both. Like, it just feels more and more.
Right there is the worst, because that is exactly how I feel like people who support Trump and his people. Like, these things are wrong, yet you're accepting him and allowing him to go ahead and get away with it because you believe so much in him and like what he's doing that you're willing to say, sure, he's doing some fucked up shit, but I trust him more than I trust anything else. That right there is really, really fucked up.
There's been times where, because of the way he backtracks, he said things that actually were, contradictory, and his base has accepted them both at times. So it is certainly possible. This is making me want to go back and read that book all over again. But
I never read that. Now I feel like I need to read it. Now I'm scared too.
I remember it bothering me a bit when I was younger. I must have read it like my early teens or whatever. It is resonating all over again for me in a new way than it was before. Because before, again, like what was really sticking out to me was like the idea of the technology there. Now, just this philosophical fuckery that goes on now that we have this destruction of objective truth happening. I mean, it has happened in history before and happens to varying degrees, but it is really fucking dangerous. It makes you question your sanity. You have no ground to stand on when somebody can come out and say truth is not truth. There are alternative facts. And if they didn't get attacked on this, they would never try to walk those statements back, right? So it almost feels like they're trying to mess with our... I'm trying to figure out how to say this in a way that doesn't sound, like a conspiracy theory or whatever. It feels like they're slowly trying to get us accustomed to this type of fucked up thinking. So whenever they, push the boundary and then they get their hands slapped, they're like, all right, maybe truth is not truth, was too far. But he's going to say some shit like that again sooner or later. And we're just going to get more and more used to it until nobody really bothers to yell about it anymore.
Yeah.
Where was it? Yeah, here. We do not merely destroy our enemies, we change them. That is what it feels like when I hear them do shit like this.
Yeah, it's just.
I would recommend that book to anybody who hasn't read it. By the way, it's 1984 by George Orwell. It's a work of fiction, but it is beautifully written.
Yeah, you want to see what you're living through? Get that book.
Even years later, it sticks out pretty vividly. Even like the last scene in that book, just years later, sticks out as like fucked up in my mind. So, yeah. Or was a wonderful writer.
That on my Kindle. Oh my gosh. I feel like I need to read it too, because I feel like if I listen to it, I'll probably be even more scared. I love how Amazon now is just putting everything I ordered on the front page, by the way. I don't need to know what I searched or what I already ordered. I know I'm getting Prince.
Yeah.
By the way, I ordered Prince Funko Pops.
I saw. You ought to be ashamed.
Whatever.
Yeah.
See how awesome it is.
Yeah. 1984 would be my early book recommendation if I've never recommended it before, because
it is on Audible. Oh,
it is a powerful piece of work.
You're not gonna do that Audible thing. Okay, yeah, I gotta get that. Oh shit, and I can listen to it for free on Kindle Unlimited. Awesome.
Do you have Kindle Unlimited?
I think I do have it because of the Echo thing.
Alexia should read it to you in her voice.
By the way, are you saying that? Anybody listen to this podcast with one? It just went off. I promise you that works. I was listening to a podcast and I had it on speakerphone and I was sitting near my Echo and they mentioned her name and they said play Justin Bieber's Espacio. And I swear to God, it started playing that song.
Yeah.
And I was so pissed because I was like, wait, no. And then she started like playing it.
I guess that explains why you were doing this move instead of saying the name. Like,
yeah, because if I say it, it's going to go off. And plus, it's going to set someone else's off. Because, again, from experience, I know it actually does work. So if you want to troll somebody, say her name all you want and say a command. I guarantee you, if they have an Echo, that's just going to do what you say.
I'll think of something more fucked up for next time.
Yeah. So, just a tip. You're going to listen to a podcast in your house with an Echo device. Please make sure to mute the mic so no one can troll you.
You can trust us. I will never make Alexa do sexy things.
Hey, please don't. Please don't. All right, so we go from that strange story to what happened next. Kind of a few things happened this week. So you have the Rudy Giuliani BS. Let me scroll through this because I'm trying to figure out what else did I send you. I mean, well, Rudy Gianni was actually followed by SummerSlam, which was pretty damn good, by the way.
It was long as shit, but it wasn't that bad.
Yo, 6 hours. Come on.
Yeah.
WWE.
But you guys, you should have watched NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 4.
Oh my God, that was so good. Velveteen Dream, sir, you're just way too good. By the way, thank you, WWE, for firing Byron Saxton. I'm at least assuming that you fired him for wearing that goddamn jacket. That jacket was just... that had to be the worst thing in the world. Like... dude.
You ain't gotta hate. You know, some people thought that jacket was sexy.
Oh, I'm not hating. I'm destroying it because it needs to be destroyed. It was ridiculous. Okay, so proceeding, Rudy Gianni. We'll get back to the SummerSlam probably at the end. Trust me, because I'm sure we have things to say. Especially since I heard last night after I stopped watching Raw, there was a reunion of sorts at the end. So
Teletubbies got back together. All right.
Aren't they like in jail for pedophilia or something? Anyway,
Dark. Anyway.
You know what? I'm going to have to lose on movie contract. Shit, shouldn't have said that. All right. Anyway. Why did I do that? For those who don't know, like I never mind. Let's just move forward. Just move forward and get away from that train wreck. So before Rudy Gianni put his foot in his mouth, Trump had to put his foot in his mouth, of course, because they canceled his parade in Washington, D.C. for Veterans Day. It was estimated that it might cost between $10 to $30 million, to which Trump went out and tweeted that this was going to cost about $100 million, I think he said, and that the reason why he canceled it was because of the poor management of the people who run the city in which it was going to be held, which was a direct shot to Washington, D.C., to which the mayor of Washington, D.C. probably tweeted, yep, I'm the one who convinced him not to do this because he was about to spend $21 million, and we made him realize how much of a waste that was.
Was it 20? I thought it was 92 million.
Well, that was his estimate, 92 million. The actual estimate which she gave him was 21 million.
Is that where
so
that
he
number
lied
came
about the estimate, which he
Okay.
didn't have to lie about. Because even then, $21 million is a ridiculous estimate for the parade. Yeah.
But I mean, but here we go again with this, what is reality shit? Because now I don't even know what that fucking number is, and it's a pretty significant difference, right?
Well, the official people who were actually planning it, the city of DC, who would have had to put in the budget cost, would have had to pay for it first before the government reimbursed them, said $21 million. The people who actually doing the work. This idiot who wants it said $92 million, not knowing what was going on in the first place, other than he's going to get to see some shiny new toys.
Mm. Whatever the case is, most people thought this was a waste of money anyway. So it didn't really matter too much how much it costed, because he's really the only person who really wanted this fucking parade, to be honest. Nobody in the White House seemed to really support this idea. Nobody military-wise. I shouldn't say, I don't need any veterans coming at me and be like, I want this parade. Cool, sorry. Obviously, nobody doesn't mean literally nobody. But
unless you just want to say if you really wanted to see $21 million spent on a nonsensical show of I don't even know what, then yeah, you probably are nobody because you're willing to waste everybody's tax money for something ridiculous. So you could say nobody. Because I find it if you support like we already have a Veterans Day parade in DC. Does he not know that? Did he not attend last year? Like the ceremonies that went on. We have ceremonies that go on.
Yeah. No. I don't know what to say. I don't know what the fuck to say about it. But yeah, but the point I was making was that this is one of those ideas where he says it and nobody really wants it. Like trade war. Nobody fucking wants that except what's that fucking guy's name? Navarro? I can't remember. But like nobody really thinks this is a good idea, and he just does it anyway. Same with this parade. Nobody thought this parade was a good idea. He just kept talking about it because he saw the one in Paris. And now that they're saying like it costs money, which duh. Like, I love how he blamed DC. Like the way he said it made it seem like he was, I don't know, saving us from wasting this money. It was a weird way to blame them for something nobody fucking wanted in the first place, as far as I know.
Yeah, like the whole they just don't know how to spend money was dumb. Like clearly they know how to spend money because they don't want to spend money on stupid shit.
So I'm gonna ask a question to see if I'm stupid or crazy or if I was misreading this. Did you read that full quote he had said about this shit?
Yeah, I did. Now,
so when he said But I'll read it out for everybody who didn't see it. So, the local politicians who run Washington, D.C. poorly know a windfall when they see it. When asked to give us a prize for holding a great celebratory military parade, they wanted a number so ridiculously high that I canceled it. Never let someone hold you up. Okay. I will instead attend the big parade already scheduled at Andrews Air Force Base on a different date and go to the Paris parade celebrating the end of the war on November 11th. You know, It doesn't matter what the rest of it says. My question is, isn't there a U.S. holiday on November 11th?
Yes, that would be Veterans Day.
So am I misreading it because what I interpreted that to mean was that on Veterans Day, he's going to Paris.
Yeah. Which instead, traditionally, what a United States president does, by the way, because I've actually been there working during that, is they actually show up to military functions in the United States, sometimes to Arlington Cemetery, things like that, and they honor the veterans here at home.
Okay. But what I'm looking for is for you to tell me that I'm misreading this and misunderstanding.
No, you're not.
No, Black. I need you to tell me that I'm wrong.
I cannot lie to you. Sorry. He is saying, because I can't get my parade, I'm going to go see their cool parade because their parade's cool and we're not cool like them.
Right.
Which,
this whole thing.
By the way, I need to know, was he invited? Like, was he invited back?
I guess they can't technically stop him. I don't know.
I mean, no, if he wants to go personally in the 10 and sit in the crowd, I guess he can. But I'm trying to figure out, did Marcone say, "Oh, poor thing, you didn't have a parade. Why don't you come sit by me and watch ours again?"
So this whole thing that he's getting mad about is over a parade for the military. Remind you, supposedly it's a military parade that nobody wanted, but fuck it. Of the many fights, this wasn't going to be the one I was going to fight. So fuck it. He's not getting it. So his solution is to not even be in America on Veterans Day. I need you to tell me that I'm reading this wrong. That's what I need from you right now.
I'm sure that's a chapter in 1984 because he clearly, it must be something he got inspired from that book. Because it would be nice to think that there's a rational explanation, or that there's some sense to this, or there's a way to explain it to where it's more appealing. But no, I can't offer you that, sir.
He's been selling this to us as a way of honoring the troops, and he said he doesn't want to be in America on veterans. That can't be correct. I refuse. Nope. I'm gonna give him this one. It was a typo. Fuck it. I refuse. There's no fucking way.
Look, if Mom won't let Billy play God of War, Billy's going to go to someone else's house and play it. That's the gist of it. Billy's not gonna not be denied what he wants. Okay.
Whatever. No. I've given him the benefit of the doubt for most things, but for my own sanity, I'm giving him this one. This one's more about me than him. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt here for me because I have to, so that I can wake up tomorrow.
And sometimes we have to lie to ourselves to feel better about life. So, hey, whatever works for you. All right, so he follows up his tantrum over a parade with another tantrum where he got so mad at John Brennan, a former intelligence agency employee, that he decided to revoke his official government clearance, which sparked the whole debate because he's basically opened the door for him to basically, if you criticize him, he'll revoke your national security clearance and keep you out. It's kind of funny because a lot of people actually, it would have been a big issue if he didn't do it. Because from what I've read and understand, John Brennan wasn't actually that much of a revered figure to begin with. But I guess kind of like James Comey and other people that Trump has decided to go after, he turned them from, just people who no one really probably would give a fuck normally because they didn't have either much respect for him or much care for him, to fucking martyrs.
Man, this is a weird time where I don't even want to have this conversation about this whole revoking security clearances issue, because it's not something a president ought to be doing anyway. And it's weird that he is admitting he's maybe not very explicitly, but pretty explicitly, that he's doing this for political reasons. He hasn't said.
He's been explicit because before this, he made a point of saying that he can and he will be willing to revoke certain people's security. And because he's a president, he can do so. This man throws out these ideas in a way that makes you say, look, I'm the president. I do what I want. If I want to,
And then the rest of us have to ask, can the president do that for real? Because nobody thinks about that shit.
And to be fair, in a roundabout way, he didn't do it. Again, it goes to what I was saying earlier. He can't personally do it himself, but he had the Department of Justice do it. So, with his lackeys, he's able to initiate certain things because he has enough people around him willing to do his bidding.
I mean, more and more as he kicks other people out, right? So,
yeah. And he's still threatening to take it away from Rosenstein, who is actually a current government employee, and all of that. So it's like,
revoke my security clearance. No, I don't have any. I'm not special. I'm fucking around. Who's that guy that he was like some big dude in the military or something who was like, revoke. He sent an open letter to the president saying revoke my security clearance as well so that I can be, add my name to the list of people like Brennan who spoke up against the president. I can't remember his name. But that was it. That was a powerful statement.
Yeah, I know. But it's a list of people that he's willing to threaten, that he could threaten. It's just like he could do it to Mueller. That's the thing. If he did that to this guy, he could revoke Mueller's. That's why it becomes a scary thing that he does it out of this real petty reason. What if he does it for a not so petty but even worse reason? Like, this guy's going to get me thrown in jail. Let me get rid of his clearance, and that makes it easier to get rid of him, and that stops him from putting me in jail. Like, he has that at his disposal.
I would like to think that somehow he'd be stopped because of the reason he's doing it, but I don't know.
Look at Congress. Look at how they're reacting to everything he does. Are they going to stop him? Exactly. Are they going to stop? That's why, again, it's a very authoritarian type of, it's a very authoritarian type of situation we're in right now, or at least close to it, because he's edging us. He's like slowly but surely nudging us to that shit. Like, the Hunger Games is going to happen soon.
I'm winning that shit.
Well, I'm not partaking in it. Okay, no.
I volunteer for tribute. So, everybody got really offended, especially early on, when people kept comparing this administration to things like Hitler's regime or Stalin's or any of the other horrible ones we mentioned throughout history. And their main complaint was that, that comparison is too far. But what they always missed was that the point wasn't that we were actually like those places. It's that we were taking steps in the direction of being like those places, which itself is bad. You don't just suddenly become an authoritarian country. Like, you transition into that. It's not a switch. It's like a slider that you slowly go from one end to the next. And every time we see stuff like this, it's like, yeah, it's just kind of getting us accustomed to this. I've heard people say that him, taking those clearances is like a warm up for him doing it, with a more prominent target like Mueller or Bruce. What's his name? Oh, fuck. There was that other guy he was threatening to take. I can't remember his name now.
What is it, Bruce Orr? Or something
yeah,
like
Orr. Yes. And I think he's still working there. So it's not like with Brennan where he was retired and not working there anymore. Yeah, I've heard people saying, just kind of ramping it up and getting us kind of used to that kind of thing, which could work. And I think that's the scary thing, because it's not like he's just doing this shit outright. He just kind of inches further and further, and we become more and more okay with it.
Yeah. As an aside to this, Brennan has threatened to sue, and Trump welcomes being sued.
I'm sure he does. He likes these fights, man. I think that's stupid because I don't think he can win these fights, but he likes them.
Yeah, I mean, this he might win, but it's not something I would risk.
I mean, like, it feels like a fight you don't want to have.
No, because, like, why are you inviting more? That man is just ridiculous.
But like you said, nobody really, well, not nobody. A certain part of our elected officials aren't saying shit about it. Which more and more, it's like, what does he have to do to make you say something? Would he actually have to go and shoot somebody like he was saying? Because I'm starting to think you still wouldn't say anything. Like when he said whatever he said during the campaign, you could shoot somebody and not lose voters or whatever he said.
Yeah, I know. It
may be true. Like what else does he have to do? I don't know. I don't know what to make of this.
Yeah, I don't know.
And even because you think of the people on the right, like Republicans and stuff, as being the people who, they wake up every morning, they brush their teeth, put on their pants, jerk off a police officer, make love to the flag. They love law enforcement so much, and yet they don't seem to defend law enforcement at all.
So don't need to have the image of Mitch McConnell going out into Capitol Police and be like, "Hey, how you doing?" and giving them a hand job.
It's a very gotta please the popo. But while I was growing up, they were always the ones who just were in love with military, police. I would include the intelligence agencies under that. And now they just don't give a fuck. It's really weird. It's also kind of weird to see my more liberal friends that they're not excitedly defending the FBI and CIA and all that shit, but they're the ones that seem to be taking up that fight, and it's just really odd.
Yeah, it's just like they're shrugging their shoulders at the abuse of power. I don't get it.
Fuck the rule of law, man.
Yeah, just make it up as you go. All right. So a non-political story. Actress and filmmaker Asia Argento has found herself on the other side of the Me Too conversation. There was a report this past Sunday that the woman considered as the leader of the Me Too movement was basically caught paying off someone who claimed she sexually assaulted them. Young man, how old was he? He was 17. She was 37 at the time. Which is extremely gross, by the way. Back in 2013, claims that she tried to sexually assault him. She denies it, but officially paid him. I think it was something like $300,000. I forget or whatever.
God.
No.
Yo, why is nobody trying to fuck me for money? Jesus Christ. I need to pay off
Yeah,
this stupid debt.
$380,000 was what that she apparently had paid this young man to be quiet.
God.
Yeah. So a lot of people are questioning, of course, does this make the Me Too movement null and void, or does it like throw shade on it and make it questionable that the women who came out and pointed the finger at Harvey Weinstein is now hypocritically in the same boat that he is in. Do you think this damages anything with Me Too?
Well, first let me say that I don't mean to take the young man's plight, lightly. He was underage. He was apparently fucked and paid off by this lady, which is wrong. Even though I would like that money too, what she did was wrong. Assuming she did it. Like, yo, why is nobody? Never mind. But
I feel like you feel offended that no one has actually tried to like harass you or do anything.
I mean, nobody tried to fuck me and give me even $5, but whatever. I'm not mad. Just saying. But to your question, shouldn't, I guess, affect the Me Too movement? It shouldn't, and I think it's really annoying that people even have that conversation. Because when I first saw this, I first saw it as an article, but I also saw like it must have been CNN coverage or something of it. And they seemed more focused on this question than really showing any sympathy toward what we would normally call the victim in this case, right? Like they seem not even interested in this young man at all. I don't mean that to be like a heavy criticism of them, because it is part of the larger conversation as to how this should affect Me Too. But it is odd that he's like an afterthought in this whole thing because of the supposed danger to this movement.
Maybe they're like you. They're just mad that somebody didn't give them $400,000.
They were women, so I assume they didn't have quite the same motivations as me to make that money. But no, it shouldn't, because either something... How should I put this? The validity of an idea is not dependent on who has the idea or who is fighting for it, right? Like if Bill Cosby told you that 2 + 2 = 4 when he's sliding you one of these pills, it's still 4 regardless, right? It didn't really matter that Bill Cosby said it or not. It is 4. Should there be sexual assault and hiding under the rug and all this shit like, the Me Too movement is fighting against? The stuff that they're fighting against shouldn't happen. They're not generally wrong in what they're seeking to do. If you have some bad actors in that movement, that's terrible. You should probably get rid of them. But the underlying idea is either valid in itself or it isn't. So, no, I don't think it should affect it. It reminds me of a conversation I had on YouTube once in the comment section. It might have been either one of your videos or with like one of Abel's videos or something. I was having a conversation with this dude, and we were talking about like sexism, I think, and he started bringing up the fact that during the suffrage era or whatever, there was like racism from white women against black women or whatever. And I just thought, his point was that women's rights are bullshit because back then there was racist women keeping down blacks and whatever. And I just thought, that's a stupid argument. Just because there were people who were racist, fighting for women's rights doesn't mean that women's rights is nonsense. It just means you had racist people in that movement too. They're not, combined in this undetachable way. It's just an illogical way to view these issues where you have a bad actor in them and then the issue itself gets tainted. No, an idea is an idea by itself. This is a dumb conversation.
Yeah. It's funny because I retweeted something earlier today and I just pulled it up just to look at it. Someone, this female comedian, she made a very good point. And when she tweeted in response to a Los Angeles Times article, which said the topic of it was, do the claims against Asia Argento invalidate the Me Too movement? And her response was, this question is like asking if a person who got murdered had murdered someone, should murder be legal? It doesn't. Which is to say, it doesn't change the fact that what happened is wrong.
Right.
So yeah. I think the focus is way too much on trying to debunk the Me Too thing, which isn't the point. The point is, for someone who it was so against this type of behavior, it's fucked up that she would do this type of behavior, and she's a fucked up person for it. I think that's as far as, at least for me, that's as far as it goes. Is that she's fucked up for this. I'm not gonna sit here and say that Rose McGowan, and all the other women who came out, all the like female gymnasts who came out against Larry Nassar and all that. I'm not gonna see, well, clearly they're full of shit because this woman did that. I'm not going to denounce that. Like the fact that like there are men out there who do rape. There was just it's funny. A friend of mine just sent me a set of tweets and article about a Twitch streamer who apparently raped a girl at a gaming convention, and they had tweets of him where he was saying like disgusting things like, "You should have just gave it to me because you were mine, and that's how it was supposed to be," and things like that. And this is like, yeah, no. Her doing what she did is just another example of how fucked up people are. That doesn't destroy the whole argument that, dudes need to be better and stop doing these things and stuff like that, It just adds her to the table of people who need to like do better.
Sure.
I would say at most it just gives the whole, women are capable of doing it too, which I think all of us already know that to begin with. So, I
guess the reason we even have this conversation is because there are people who force you to have it. To me, it's obvious that this isn't even really a valid question, but there's plenty of people who are always, I think you used the word debunk. They're always trying to invalidate some shit if they don't agree with it. It's a gross habit, but you see it a lot. They're always trying to establish that the side that they don't agree with are hypocrites. Specifically, I don't know. You see it a lot. Like if you look at Trump supporters, for example, we have this term now, whataboutism, where they're always trying to point to Hillary or Obama or whoever else when you mention something bad about Trump. It's because they don't really care about arguing about the ideas. They just want to prove that the other side is bullshit. And somehow that's supposed to win this argument that they want to have. Which, again, even if people on the other side are bullshit, that doesn't really mean anything. If I went back to the Cosby example, Cosby did some shit for the black community, I guess some people would argue. Does that mean like equal rights is bullshit? If you found out today that, MLK raped a bunch of people, does that mean all the things he was talking about are inherently bullshit?
Yeah, it's like, do we go back to segregation? Because you know what I mean? Like, do we reestablish? Did we dissolve the whole civil rights movement? No, and it's funny that you brought up MLK because they actually tried that with MLK in a way when the whole book discussion about how he basically had other women in cities and was cheating on his wife. It's like, okay, he's an adulterer. Nobody said that he was a perfect human being. That being said, that doesn't dissolve him, like his message of we need to be like have racial unity and need to get rid of like segregation. No.
The idea is independent. Like it doesn't matter what he did, even if he was fucking all those women. That sucks for his wife, but
yeah, like that's fucked up for his wife, his family, and him. Like personally, what is this that I'm looking? Anyway,
but
sorry, I'm on Twitter and there's a video of I guess that's I don't know, somebody at the VMAs shaking their ass and Derek, not Derek. Is that Derek? No, that's Alex Rodriguez or somebody looking at her shaking her head. I don't know. Like, why is that the first thing on my timeline? the thing above it is the better thing. But anyway, we'll get to that in a minute.
You know what this dude's name is?
Who? Yo, the storm's coming. What dude?
The dude who got paid off
for. Oh yeah, it's funny because I had the article up. What is his name? Why you're gonna like hit him up and ask him how he did it? Jimmy Bennett is his name.
The reason I ask is because it just seems like we're not talking about him at all. And he's the one that got fucked as a minor and paid off. Like, I don't know. It is this weird thing where we can't focus. And there's clearly a gender-based difference in the way we're covering this story, where because the genders in this situation are kind of flipped, we're completely focused on defending the legitimacy of the Me Too movement and not dealing with him as a victim, which I'm not, again, blaming that movement for, because they are being attacked over this, so they have to defend themselves.
Yeah. But
it's a gross kind of difference. I think ironically it feeds more into the idea that Me Too is supposedly bullshit, because it looks like their reaction to this is to not give a fuck about this dude and care more about their own movement.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I don't think is a fair charge, but I can see why it would look that way and why people would think of it that way.
Yeah. No, it's really...
So it's like these people who want to delegitimize them force them into a situation that makes them look even more illegitimate. It's a hard place to be.
Yeah. It's just silly stuff. It doesn't change the fact that it doesn't change the message that came from there. It really doesn't. They just really need to get over. Like, I've never understood the need to validate what you're wrong by pointing out that somebody else is wrong. It's just I will never come to understand that. Because it doesn't make you any less wrong. So why do you do it, people?
And it always, a lot of times it turns into really gross personal things. Like, one of my favorite writers is Richard Dawkins. He's a scientist. He's written books on like evolution and shit like that. And some people have trouble with the idea of evolution. So I've seen people, like he got divorced a couple of years ago, I think, and people were attacking him, saying he must have cheated or done something shitty because they want to invalidate his ideas on essentially evolution. He's a well-known atheist too, so he gets disdain for that. And I saw people online attack him and suggest all these horrible things about his marriage because of his ideas about religion and science and shit. And I'm like, that's really gross that you had to attack him on such personal things while he was going through his divorce because you didn't like his ideas, and you figured if you could make him look like a shitty person, then his ideas would be bullshit. But you see it all the time.
Yeah, it's just a shitty husband. That's all. So people aren't good at marriage. Gee, get over it. People are just so. Oh God.
I mean, I think the weird thing is we didn't even know what it was because, they still seemed all friendly and shit. So they didn't even seem like it wasn't an ugly divorce like you normally see, in media and stuff. It was. They were still doing work and shit together. So it was like,
yeah, it's like you just can't be married. Some people are like that.
Yeah. So it was, as far as what I'd normally see in the media, it was like one of the more calm things I've ever seen. And yet they were going apeshit on this dude just to make him look shitty. But yeah, it's gross. I still think Me Too has something important to say. You can criticize them on some things here and there, I guess. But
yeah, like any cause.
Sure. Many movements have their excesses in places, but no, I don't think that the fact that this kid got fucked for money and I didn't invalidates their movement.
Fuck is wrong with you? All right. Moving on. By the way, I'm gonna have to rewind SmackDown because the Miz is out here mizzing it up. The thing that I like about this Miz section is like I can't hear it, but I can see him talking shit. And then Daniel Bryan comes out, and he immediately stands behind his wife with his hand on her back, like to keep her in front of him. I'm like, well, you stay there. He won't hit me if he's right there. And he's continually standing behind his wife.
Because his wife is a strong woman. The Miz believes in gender equality.
He's sacrificing his wife to Daniel Bryan. That's not good. Horrible husband are you. Anyway, Russians tried to hack the Senate and conservative think group. Which, hey, remember when they said that the Russians didn't do shit, and now the Russians are doing shit, and they're coming after conservatives too, and now people are up in arms. And Microsoft is the one who discovered it, by the way. Apparently, the government has been working with Microsoft to establish some type of security for hacking. In fact, this has led to Microsoft establishing a new arm of their company that deals specifically with that and is mostly just working with government officials, which, hey, Bill Gates gets more money.
Apparently. I just heard that before I got home. And the argument at the time was that when these kind of attacks are happening, they need to be able to react more quickly, which I guess, I think it's, I don't know how to feel about it, because to me it's admitting that the government doesn't have anything really in place to be able to handle this. Because they're relying on the private sector, seemingly.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Sorry. What the fuck?
Well, I guess we're going to get the match we always predicted was coming, huh?
Brie Bella versus The Miz? Oh, shit. I didn't even know I wanted that match. Anyway.
Yeah, I would love for Brie to come back on a regular basis, though, because Brie was good. Brie didn't get a push. Her sister got the push. Brie should have got the push.
I feel like they both improved.
I still think Brie was always the better one, though.
I mean, I guess. But I feel like Nikki got a lot
of
ring
work. I understand why. Oh gosh, I forgot her name. Nikki. Yeah. I understand why Nikki kind of got it, because she was, the more visible one.
But even she improved though. Like,
yeah, no, she got better. I mean, even
ironically, she dropped the title.
Name of her finishing move. I found myself saying, "Yo, you're actually not bad
anymore." I remember thinking of it as an improvement over time.
Yeah, it was an immense improvement.
I don't know that she got credit for it, but she.
By the way, this is just me, like, kind of bleeding back to the Russia thing. But this is me. This Corey Graves looked like a Russian mafia member. Seriously, it's like the suits, the tats.
Oh my god! Now I can't unsee that shit.
He looks like a Russian mafia member.
I cannot unsee that image now. Just him sit, especially because of the look he had on his face at the time. Like, what do you mean he's not dead?
With Viggo Mortensen about the Russian mafia. I forget the name of it. I'm gonna have to send you the name and send you a clip of Viggo Mortensen, and you're gonna see. You're gonna be like, yeah, he's a fucking Russian mob member.
I mean, apparently they got spies over here, so shit.
Well, we know what Corey Graves be doing.
But yes, we are. We are continuously getting attacked by Russia digitally, which is really, it's almost as creepy as Jeff Hardy. And we have an administration that doesn't seem to want to do shit about it, which, oh, fuck.
Yeah. In fact, what?
I'm smacked down on the other screen. And I looked away for a second. I looked back because when I said the Jeff Hardy thing, like, he had his back.
Oh, yeah. With the eye.
Yes. So I was like, oh, Jeff Hardy's being weird. And then he just like suddenly popped his eyes open. He's like, ah! And I had to look at like right the moment where he did that shit. But we can edit me screaming out. So, I don't know what the fuck I was saying now. I should have had that shit up in the first place.
You know, by the way, the picture in this article about the movie's called Eastern Promises, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Good movie. It's a really, really good movie. With this picture they got at the top of the article of Viggo Mortensen, it's Corey Graves.
Oh my god.
Tell me that ain't Corey Graves.
It's his older brother.
Exactly. But yeah, no, this whole thing, it's good that they're establishing this, but it pisses me off because again, having worked at the Spy Museum, I remember when Obama came into office and they did this whole initiative where he talked about how we need to start building a better infrastructure to fight cyber war, to fight hacking, because cyber warfare is going to be the next wave and where they're going to really push things. It's not going to be a battlefield type thing. Cyber warfare is going to be where they're going to hurt us the most. And it's like, y'all ain't listen.
I mean, it feels fairly obvious, though. I don't feel like you needed officials to tell you that. Like one of the things that's been in the news is this idea that Russia could attack our electrical infrastructure, for example, which I don't think people understand how dangerous that could be if you had these places with power knocked out, you know, maybe old people during the summer in the heat with no AC dying.
Right. You know what I would have thought would have been the real wake-up call? Remember, was it 2-3 years ago when they knocked out the entire DNS server for the East Coast? And like all these major websites were down around Christmas. Do you remember that?
Not really. Maybe.
Yeah, I still remember that because I remember like people were screaming about, oh my god, PSN and Xbox Live were down too. But then like the whole thing came out, it's like, yeah, Amazon's not working. All these other Walmart's.com's not working. It turned out that someone went after the main DNS servers on the East Coast and knocked it out by hacking it and by just DDoSing it at that.
Yeah, we are.
And it's like, y'all don't see this what is happening here, and they said that they felt like it was a Russian thing at the time as well. So you would have thought that would have been a wake up call right there. It's like you just pretty much blew up half of America's internet access.
I wonder, like, financially, what it looked like for that period where you couldn't access some of the biggest retailer sites for a little while.
Yeah.
What the financial impact of that looked like. Because I think part of the reason it doesn't stick out in people's minds is something to really be concerned about is that it's a very, I don't think it's very obvious and like visceral what the consequences are of them doing shit. Like if they knock out the power or something, I don't think it occurs to people what would really happen if the power got knocked out like that at like a key moment. Or, you know, our web services get attacked at key moments. Like I just don't think the consequences are obvious. They're not as obvious as like if they dropped a bomb on us or if they, you know, dropped a bunch of poison gas or something like that. It's just not the most relatable form of warfare, I guess.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. But honestly, stuff like that makes sense. This hacking thing makes sense because look at what this hacking thing has done to this country. It's put it at a big divide socially and politically. You know, we are not in like half the country is just like crying, no, you're lying. This isn't what happened. You just don't want him as president. The other half is like, yo, they fucked with our goddamn government structure. What are you talking about? This man possibly worked with and colluded with this. And again, these current hacks, what they were trying to do was pretty much the same thing they did to Hillary, which was, you know, put false information so they can draw people out to give them current information, like they did with the DNC chairman at the time. They sent him fake emails from people who he thought he knew, and he ended up divulging information that he shouldn't have because he fell for that. You know, he fell for spear phishing.
Which, yeah. I mean, even that doesn't feel like very obvious, because when we say they hacked the election, for example, a lot of people will be like, well, they didn't hack the voting machines and blah, 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 which I'm not even sure is obviously true, but let's assume that that's true. It doesn't matter so much because there was other things they did, and it's this more fuzzy stuff that's kind of hard to wrap your mind around, like the idea that they were making all these fake accounts on social media and, you know, intentionally driving divides and pushing people further apart on purpose to foster fighting and shit, energizing the different bases. That doesn't really feel as obvious a form of attack. It doesn't even, I could see people even arguing that it doesn't even really feel wrong to do that. It's like, well, they didn't break into the voting machines or make you, you know, hack into your brain or do something crazy. I feel like it's the consequence of living in the digital age and not understanding certain things about human psychology and how it can be affected by this type of shit.
Yeah.
Because what I get, the sense I get is that a lot of people don't seem to acknowledge the way the internet can affect their thinking. It's not like the internet controls your brain or anything like that, but it does have noted effects.
Well, I mean, given the way we react to stuff on social media these days, it's just makes more sense. You notice how a lot of people, if something put on the internet, they kind of jump and react really quickly to it because you're able to get information so quickly and react so quickly. People kind of can be lulled into that whole sense, like, hey, if I put it on the internet enough, it must be true. It's just like remember I was talking to you about the Amazon things. There were some things that people were mentioning to me about it that I'd never read in the article because I actually went and read the Amazon article. But other people like, well, I heard this, I heard that. It's like, did you actually read the thing? And it's like, no. It's like, well, this is what the thing said. Because putting out tweets, Facebook posts tends to be people's biggest source of information these days. Or at least some people's biggest information. Nobody actually goes and looks for legitimate articles. And again, you couple this with the whole fake news movement that we have going on, where you have government officials trying to discredit the news, and it kind of strengthens the word of, you know, the quick tweet or whatever other social media platform you use. And Russia's right to go after that, and I wish people would realize that's why you need to really start paying attention. It's just like the other day I saw an article where people were tweeting out about Mike Pence's website being hacked. For those who don't know, this website had like all types of crazy stuff that Mike Pence was quoted to have said. It wasn't a hack. It was a fake parody site that was made years ago, but someone started tweeting it heavy again and throwing out the idea that he was hacked, and the internet bought it. You know, so it's just like stuff like that. It's like people will latch onto it and don't realize, no, it's not exactly what it is. You're not really paying attention to what's going on because you're just seeing it and you're reacting or responding.
It's always my issue with they're not memes. I like those Facebook articles. You know, you can just like click the share button on that shit. I always took great issue with that because, how should I put it? I think it was to your point that you can react so quickly without really having to think. You know, on the few, I don't comment too much on Facebook nowadays, but when I do, like my things are usually things that I've written out myself, and they're pretty long. But it's because I took the time to sit down and actually think about them. And I think the reason I value doing that, and I know people don't like reading my long ass shit, but the reason I value doing that is because it forces me to sit down and think about what I am saying so that I can try to communicate it as best I can. You know, sometimes I got to come back and clarify. You know, it creates a good back and forth conversation because people would be like, "Oh, what did you mean when you said this?" And I can come back and explain it back and forth. When you're sharing an article with no context, it's not even really sharing a thought. Because one of my biggest complaints was that I would see people share an article, and I didn't even know what their motivation for sharing it was. Like, did they think it was silly? Did they agree? What did they agree with if they were agreeing? They would just click the share button, and then it was just spread out like wildfire to everybody else. And I could see misinformation just spreading out insanely. The one example I like is this. It was like a screenshot of like a Twitter page or whatever, and it was from this white girl. And I think she took a screenshot of like some dude who was in the military or some shit like that. I don't know. She was saying something mean about like white guys, and the idea was that, you know, you can't even be white in America. Everybody's attacking white people. Blah 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 blah. So I went to this girl's Twitter. Like, I found her on Twitter, and I looked, you know, through her history, and fairly easily established that this thing was bullshit. Like, because what she had said in the screenshot was so ridiculous, I was like, she must be being sarcastic. And when I went to her page, she's, you know, complaining essentially that people didn't understand that that was sarcasm, and that this is just a tweet from like a couple of years ago that they're bringing back up again and spreading around some more. Like, something that would take very little effort to show was bullshit, but nobody took the effort, so they just kept spreading it around. And nobody checks it because all you have to do is press share. That's why it's pretty rare on my Facebook that you see me share an article, because usually I don't feel like taking the time to really try and verify it, which I feel like people ought to do more often, because then you'd have less bullshit going around. If you took 10
and you look
seconds.
less stupid too, to be quite honest. Because when you find out that something that you thought was true is fake on the internet, it's not a good look.
And memes are like, I said articles because, you know, some of the articles are just low quality. They're clearly not from reliable sources. You read them and they're like, fuck these guys. Yeah, it's like, wow, this wasn't written by a professional. But it's not even just articles. It's memes in general, which purport to share facts. But then when you check them, they're not facts. But you see them all the time. I've seen ones repeated dozens of times over that I knew were factually false because I looked them up.
Yeah, no, that's just like why I did that video about the guy from IGN. You heard that story about the guy who plagiarized another website for his IGN review of a game, right?
Oh, I missed it.
Oh, well, long short of it is this guy got a job with IGN. He was supposed to do a review of a game, so he did it. And then they asked him to do a video review. And what he basically did was he took everything that someone else said from their YouTube video and put it in his video and published it as an IGN review. The person saw it and was like, yo, what do I do about IGN plagiarizing my shit? And it went viral. And then it came out that this guy has a long history, even on his own personal YouTube content, of just basically plagiarizing other people's work in his writings and in his videos when it comes to stuff. And it's just like, you know, that's one of the problems with media today, because you don't have to work. You don't have to work to make news, because all you need to do is just grab what you see on the internet and go with it. And people will buy it without it. Luckily for this guy, he recognized it and said something. But how many times have we had things where, you know, they never recognized it? Or like you were saying, you know, with the whole share thing, you're not verifying that this is a legit thing, but you're willing to sit here and share it with the world. You know, it's the way that social media has made, you know, regular media and just the information that we discuss from a personal level, it just makes it shaky as hell sometimes. It's hard to believe things. I mean, I guess that's why that whole fake news thing kind of works so well. But because people probably kind of deep down realize that, yeah, we're not paying attention to what people are saying to us. But I feel like you're doing it in the wrong way. It's like you're not paying attention to stuff that people who've been doing this for years and are like, you know, professionals, but you're willing to relieve like Sophia from fucking Cosby Show giving you life edicts, little memes. Like, it's so fucking backward.
Yeah. I guess part of the issue is that a lot of people don't respect the idea of traditional media. I mean, Americans have always been pretty skeptical of pretty much fucking everything. You know, I'm sure there are people that don't really believe the sky is blue, that that's a government conspiracy to hide the fact that it's red or some shit. I don't know. Like, people are very skeptical of the government, of media, of any perceived expertise in general. So I think that's part of the reason they go and shit on those things. I remember a couple months ago, I saw somebody on my Facebook. There was like that attack at I want to say it was like a Apple headquarters or Google or something like that, like one of those big tech people, and somebody went and attacked them. And she was like screaming bloody murder that, you know, the mainstream media isn't covering this, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, but I saw this on CNN and MSNBC. And like, you know, I'd seen it like 3 or 4 times in mainstream media. That's why I knew about it. So, you know, people were asking her about it. And I guess it turned out that by mainstream media, she really meant like social media, because people were talking about it in general. It's like, that's not really the news media's fault that people don't want to talk about that they don't find it interesting. But I don't know, there's this penchant to attack what would normally be considered legitimate forms of news for stupid things, because the things I see them attacked for, they don't really deserve.
Yeah. Speaking of stupid things, Jeff Hardy, what is wrong with you?
A lot.
I don't know if you're behind me or ahead, but when you see it, I'm sure you'll react. Fucking idiot.
I'm still mad at this fucking guy for scaring me earlier. I hate him.
But yeah, no, people, they really need to start paying attention. That's why it's so simple for Russia to do what they're doing.
I don't know how you get there though. Yeah.
No.
I mean, it's not like
All
something you cover at school. So how to recognize stupid articles.
They're gonna have to make a class for that. It's sad, but we're gonna have to actually have that as a part of our curriculum. That is, unless they do get rid of the education department, then there's no education anyway. So hey, whatever. Speaking of getting rid of things, Trump had the EPA roll back Obama regulations, which set standards for emissions. He now is working on revoking those and making it go back to something that the states have to decide on. Why is this a big deal? Because if you're a place like West Virginia that feels like you can't survive without coal, which is horrible to the environment, having federal regulations which makes you adhere to certain emissions rules kind of kills your business. But if the state of West Virginia is able to say whatever they want about these, they can roll back a lot of things and bring back big old coal and kill off a lot of coal miners who now, by the way, you realize can't be medically covered anymore because he got rid of the Obamacare regulations that help provide health care for coal miners who contracted, I forget the name of the disease, but it's a well-known disease that coal miners get that is generally terminal in every case. So, yay, more holes in ozone.
It is incredibly frustrating that we have this deep, powerful desire to destroy the environment for a buck, I guess. I don't know how else to put
science. Science ain't shit.
That's the depressing thing, is because, you know, everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people will say, you know, the science is inconclusive. People, you know, it's a strong debate on whether there's man-made pollution or not. But there isn't, though. There just isn't. It is the vast majority of scientists who think there's man-made climate change, and it's a problem, and we ought to do something about it. And I don't see why the solution is, fuck it, let's just destroy the earth. I just don't. I can't understand that from anybody but the people who are making a buck off that. Which I guess for them it makes sense because they've only got so much life to live, so they don't really care about, you know, the longevity of the earth, because they'll be dead within, you know, whatever number of decades their normal human lifespan. So fuck it. I just don't. I saw somebody make the point earlier that it doesn't even seem like the EPA is really trying to argue against the science. It's like they acknowledge the climate change issue, but they just don't care to do anything about it.
It's so weird that we have an EPA now. I mean, wasn't the EPA established to like make sure shit like this don't happen? It makes me wonder, what is the point of the EPA now? Because the Environmental Protection Agency, but they're dissolving protective measures. How does that make sense?
They managed to get the their type of guys into the agency, and now they're running roughshod over it. So
it's just so
phenomenal.
Ridiculous. It's like the one place that you would think that, you know, the scientific research would stand highest just misses all of that because an idiot wants to make sure people he promised, businessmen that he promised that he'd take care of, a leg up on making money in the short term.
And the tragic thing with the way Trump and his administration promises things to these people, it's not what you ought to give them. You know, you're trying to give them their coal jobs back. Why don't you give them jobs that don't make them sick and die? Like,
yeah.
The money you want to spend on nonsense, why don't you spend it on retraining to help deal with clean energy stuff, which there is plenty of money in. Like, I just don't understand this desire to go back to this stuff. We left it for a reason. Not because, you know, the hippies wanted to fuck more trees or something, but because it was just generally bad for the environment and for the workers. They die with this stuff. I don't understand the desire to do this. It's like, it's insanely frustrating because it's not like, you know, I, as somebody who cares about the environment, it's not like I don't care about those coal workers. I want you to help them too, in a way that actually helps them. It's like this, the jobs thing where everybody's complaining about how, you know, the jobs went overseas and Trump's bringing them back. The jobs in like factories and shit, as many people have to keep explaining, are not gone because they just went over to other countries. That's part of it, I guess. But they're gone because automation is a thing that has happened in advance. Because you can make a lot more shit with a lot less people. That is why jobs like that aren't there. Not because they all just went away to China or wherever else. So a lot of these jobs that they're always trying to bring back are just not going to come back because they didn't go anywhere. They just got eliminated. And some of these jobs you just shouldn't want to exist anymore. You should create better jobs for these people. If you really gave a fuck about these people, you would get them better jobs. You don't give a fuck about these guys. You give a fuck about the people on top of these coal companies who are rolling in a bunch of money. You don't give a fuck about these guys who don't have their black lung causing jobs anymore.
Yeah, like this is why it's like, why don't we use the alternative energy sources to create jobs? You know, the cleaner ones. Give them jobs there. Train them to do that.
So yeah, the point isn't jobs, which is what really bothers me.
Yeah, no.
It's
protecting certain businesses. That's all.
I don't know.
By the way, can we just pause 1 second to just admire Naomi?
I mean, the people watching can't because they can't see.
Sorry, people. At this moment, I don't like care because Naomi's on screen. Sorry. You understand, people.
Man, she should be the champion. Although Becky has the red hair, though. So.
Oh, good. Billie Kay and Peyton Royce are back. Shouldn't they be in the women's UK thing? By the way.
I mean, they may as well be. What the fuck are they doing here?
One of them's not British, but it don't matter.
Are they both Australian?
Yeah, they're from British colonies. No, I think one's from New Zealand, but it doesn't matter. They're British colonies.
Whatever. Some place that England fucked. Because. I mean, that's the sad history of the world, isn't it? Like England and Spain, like Spain, fuck like half the planet. That's why there's so many Spanish speakers.
Pretty much most of Europe. Because of colonization. Hell, sure. Even the Belgians had some. That's why Belgium's soccer team's so good, because they were able to poach from African countries, which they fucking. That's the sad truth of, like, you know, that is the goddamn sad truth about most of the World Cup teams this year that were really, really good. They had a lot of Africans, and partially because, yeah, they were from African nations that were former colonies. That's hilarious. Anyway. I just really thought of that. It was like, wow, that's sad.
I love your segues, man. Like, Europe pretty much raped half the world. Anyway. I mean, that is why two black guys are having this conversation in English. So, all right.
Oh my god. I mean, it fits because Trump is trying to rape the world with poisonous gases and stuff like that.
That's not poisonous gas. That's just Cheeto dust. Stop it. It's not lethal.
Cheeto dust is in the air. Speaking of Cheeto, Michael Cohen. Today has been an interesting day. First, Paul Manafort got convicted of 8 out of the 18 counts. So, congratulations, Mr. Manafort. You didn't get convicted of 18 counts. Just 8 counts of fraud. That's so fucking ridiculous. Like, he could actually sit there and say that's a win in a way, even though it's not. Like, okay, you just knocked off a good 30 to 40 years off your sentence. You still got 100 and something more to go. Congratulations.
It's a less painful loss.
I guess, by the way, somebody made a very, very good point on CNN today where they were saying how Trump really doesn't have to, like, basically pardon this guy because they feel like he's not going to talk out of fear of Russian retribution anyway. So they feel like that's part of the reason why he's not taking a plea, because he's more scared of what Russia might do in retaliation than anything that Trump could say or do. Do you buy that?
I'm sorry. Say it again. I got confused by that reasoning there.
So the reasoning was that even though Trump could pardon him, and again, as I've said many times before, pardoning him doesn't absolve him from talking, because that just makes it more easy for him to talk as he can purge himself. But they were saying that they feel like it didn't really matter whether Trump wanted to pardon him or not, because they feel like his Russian ties are really going to keep him from talking anyway. Because if he talks about Trump, he has to talk about what the Russians did for Trump, and they would feel compelled like some of the Russian ties that he has would feel compelled to silence him, I guess.
Oh, I mean, that's the joke I've been making for a while.
Yeah. And no, but somebody seeing this, like, no, it's a very, like, thinks that it's a very valid point. Do you think it's actually valid? I know, you said you joked for a while, but do you think there's some merit to that? Seriously?
So when I had originally started making that joke, it was because I found it confusing that he seemed to be not trying to cop a plea deal of any kind for so long. And nobody could really seem to explain why he was so stubborn on this shit. And I was like, I mean, if he's not turning on Trump, it can't be because of loyalty to Trump. It must be because he's afraid Russians are going to kill him. And the longer he held out, the more and more I started to believe my own joke there, because I was like, I just don't understand his strategy any other way. Like, he had so many charges, and he was still not trying to do this shit. I was like, there's no other explanation I can think of other than he's afraid of the Russians. And we've seen them kill people in other countries. Wink, wink, UK. So I don't think it's unfounded.
Corey Grace is going to show up in his prison. Take him out.
At least he'll be well dressed.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I'm still kind of the same mindset, is that I don't really understand his strategy. Because if I was in his position, I would be doing anything I could. Because he is in some deep shit. And yet he didn't seem to want to do that. I don't know if it was because he was expecting that pardon, or again, because he's afraid of the Russians. I think I want to say there's some legitimacy to it. But sometimes with this administration, I kind of feel like we're going, we have a tendency to jump for the craziest conclusions, even though they feel sane in the moment. Like the idea that Trump is a Russian asset, in the sense that, like, or a sleeper agent, I guess, was the joke.
Right.
But the reason those feel so compelling is because it gets really hard to explain some of the behavior you see otherwise. Because every time you reach for a more rational conclusion, it doesn't seem to fit.
It's ridiculous how we're living in some type of Hollywood movie type structure when it comes to these things. Because that just sounds like something like I feel like I'm watching a mob movie where, like, you got some guy who turned against the mob, but then the mob is sitting, like on The Godfather 2. The guy's about to turn on Michael Corleone, then Michael Corleone shows up into the courtroom with his brother, and then he realized, oh shit, he might kill my brother. So I gotta keep quiet because something's gonna happen to my family if I don't, not turn. It's so weird. It's such a scripted Hollywood type scenario that we should not be facing right now, but we are.
I guess my hesitation is, I always feel like a crazy person or a conspiracy theorist when I start to give some of these ideas any credence. Not that I'm giving the sleeper agent thing any credence just yet, but like this idea that he's going to get killed by the Russians. I feel like a conspiracy theorist, but I also just get kind of confused with some of his moves, unless he is afraid of them somehow.
That was disrespectful, even though I'm okay with the result. I still say it's disrespectful.
Naomi is a black female superhero.
But the villain won. Disrespectful.
Good for
Even
her.
though it makes sense, still disrespectful.
They better win something. I'm sick of these heel factions that can't win.
That's why I say it makes sense, because it's like, yo, you fucking gotta let the heels win.
Like, I remember Graves once saying, like, the Riot Squad is, like, super dangerous or something. And I was like, what are you talking about? They haven't won in months. And they have matches every week. Like, similar with the Iconics. Like, they are a heel group, and yet they lose almost all the time.
Wait, can we just take a moment to realize that Big E is eating from a bag that says delicious Chinese food? Why does that bother me so much?
Does he get eat like that and get away with it?
He's eating Chinese spare ribs from a bag that says delicious Chinese food.
I can't tell if that's like a real place or like.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Because
it's just like one of those TV things where like you don't make a real brand so you can get away with it. He's even eating it like an asshole, man.
Yeah.
He's not even eating it for real. He's just like putting it in his mouth. What is this guy's?
I mean, it's not like if he was to eat it, it's going to bother him. Like, look at him.
Like he's not even. What is he? Fuck this.
I love that we. By the way, I love the fact that we record these on Tuesdays and watch SmackDown while we record. I know y'all be looking at us like, what the fuck are these dudes doing? Like, you're supposed to be
literally watching
a social conscious show, and these fuckers are talking about wrestling. Whatever.
There are many social issues in wrestling too.
Yeah,
the women's evolution.
We went through the Russian thing. You know, they.
I hate you so bad.
Social issues. They touch on social issues.
I hate you so bad.
Rusev,
I cannot look at Graves anymore and not see this shit. I hate you so. Every time this fucking dude comes up on screen, especially because he's often doing like this, like motion with his hands.
Yeah,
like
he's always got that. He has that look like he's up to something. Anyway,
I cannot unsee this shit now. Every time the 3-man group comes up, my eyes go directly to him, and I'm like, why does he look like he's getting ready to murder somebody?
That explains what happened to Byron Saxton yesterday.
He stepped over one too many lines.
Exactly, like that coat, you went too far. You tried to outdo me with that ridiculous jacket. I'd take you out, sir.
He disrespected the family.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Okay, so Paul Manafort, that was what we're almost done, people. I promise you. And then Michael Cohen surrendered to the FBI and pled guilty to bank fraud and indicated that yes, Trump had him do some stuff for him.
Bank fraud, plea. Campaign finance violations.
Yes. He said Trump made him do it. To which, did Trump directly tweet about that? I'm just curious. Do you know if he did?
I don't think he's tweeted yet. When I checked, he hadn't tweeted recently. Like,
I'm sure he's going to tweet something. Like, he's just building up his, like, you know.
He forgot his phone when he went to take his
anger.
Shit, so.
No, he's probably just right now screaming and cursing at everybody in his office and throwing his toupee around. Now he's going to sit down after his tantrum. He's going to do his tweet thing. Like, he's such a disloyal person and he lied and I never did. And I'm like, okay, sir.
Trump.
By the way,
oh, maybe it's because he was at a rally or something. Because like his last couple tweets.
That's right. He's supposed to be in West Virginia right now.
Yeah, like the last 15 minutes, he has 2 tweets from West Virginia about this rally thing. So that might be why he's not tweeting, because he's actually doing something not important, but he's doing something right now.
They're fighting hard to get rid of the Democratic mansion. They're trying to get rid of Manchin like crazy. So, makes sense.
Make America great again.
But yeah, on a side note, he's also been steaming this week because his head lawyer was in a 30-hour interview with Robert Mueller on the Russian investigation. What's making him extremely bad is the fact that his lawyer didn't divulge everything of the conversation, so they don't know exactly what they talked about for 30 hours.
So, what they've been saying on the news, which I guess I didn't know, is that this dude does not represent Trump. That apparently what they've been saying is that he represents the office of the presidency, which I don't fully understand the implications of that, but I thought it was an interesting statement as to his role in the White House. So I guess I just assumed that their job as a lawyer was to defend whoever was the president, which apparently isn't true.
Yeah, like, so why do you have a legal White House legal team?
I guess I don't know. I don't know what it means to be defending the office of the presidency, but whatever. But that is what I've been hearing a lot. Is that that's not his personal lawyer, which whatever. I mean, he's still ought to have known that. What was it, Megan or whatever, that testified for like 30 hours. I didn't spend 30 hours with a person. Like,
yeah, what are y'all talking about?
Apparently, there must have been a lot to talk about if you spent 30 hours.
In his ire, though, because, like, yo, been in there for that room a long time, man. What's going on?
You wouldn't tell them the truth or nothing, were you?
Right.
Can't have that.
Well, since the truth isn't the truth, I mean, can.
I mean,
I'm gonna like fucking use that forever from now on, because that is just the dumbest thing I've ever heard. The truth isn't the truth. God,
it's not right. It's right up there with alternative facts.
Yeah,
it's 2018's alternative facts. We needed a reboot. So
yeah.
But yeah, when is this Mueller shit gonna like? I'm waiting for Mueller to drop this new album though, because I hear the tracks are fire, and I'm just looking for that release date. Yeah.
And with the like Michael Cohen thing, he clearly is getting all types of like, you know, features on the album that come along with them. Like, geez,
there's some bangers on this shit. Yeah,
it's gonna be funny. You know what though? The funny thing is, the truth isn't the truth might be the second dumbest thing I've heard this week. Only because Nicki Minaj just really fucked me when she tweeted out that she wrote a freestyle.
Okay. But what do you mean? Like she freestyled and then she wrote it down after?
No,
or?
She said she just wrote a freestyle and she's going to record it later.
What's the difference between that and just writing a song?
Exactly, because a freestyle is something that you do off the top of your head. And her fans are defending her, trying to say, well, technically a freestyle is only when you battle. It's like, no. Freestyle is you off the top of your head coming up with verses, not writing it down, because that's writing a song.
I will say, I have, Becky though, I will say I have seen, I've seen that term abused, like freestyle. God damn, red hair and angry face. Focus. I've seen that term abused because, like, I've seen videos and stuff where they say this is a freestyle, and you see them reading this shit like off their phones. And the thing is, there is no shame like rapping some shit that you wrote. If you got bars, that's fine. Like, just because it isn't a freestyle doesn't mean it's bad or stupid or there's something wrong with it. I mean, fuck, maybe some people just can't spit off the top like that. That's fine.
And a lot of people can't. It's a hard thing. Knowing rap, I know a few people who rap. They will tell you it's not the easiest thing. It's just like, it's funny. The battle rap excuse, that made me laugh because a lot of people don't know when you battle rap, you're not necessarily freestyling. You actually have lines that you prepared. So if you get into a battle, which is fine because a battle rapping isn't about doing it off the top of your head. It's about saying the most cleverest thing and having people basically say like you have the best rhymes. So yeah, that's fine. But no, when someone freestyles, you say it off the top of your head. That's what freestyling is. Now,
I feel like it's important to make that distinction too, because like people, you know, you can fuck up in a freestyle. Like if the freestyle isn't as high quality as the rest of your work, it makes sense because it's off the top. Like if you just say that everything written is also freestyling, then you're really making an unfair bar for what freestyling should be. Because if you're freestyling, you should be more open to like fucking up and, you know, not having literally the most clever line possible because you had all of like 1 second to think about it.
Yeah, exactly.
it makes unfair expectations for what a freestyle should amount to. Because I've seen people who you could tell actually were spitting off the top, and they got compared to other people who were freestyling and be like, but that other person wasn't freestyling. That's why it was so much better.
Yeah, exactly. But lower expectations for artists, I guess, these days. I don't know.
Why was she?
Like, hey, I came up with this right now and I wrote it down, so it's a freestyle. It's like, no, we all can do that. And the funny thing is, she can go back and edit it as well and still say it's a freestyle.
But good job, Nikki. I guess whatever
She's
you write,
been having a fit anyway since she didn't sell as many albums as she thinks she should. So.
Did she do bad?
Her album sold.
Oh,
like
Queen came out, right?
Yeah, and they sold like 190,000 copies. But there were a couple of other albums, like Travis Scott's new album came out and like blew it all the way out the fucking water. And I guess she was expecting to be the top selling album, but she wasn't. So she threw a fit and she started talking shit about Travis Scott and his girlfriend Kylie Jenner and about all these other people and how they're the ones who made her album not sell the way it did. And she just went on like a weird fucking disgusting hissy fit about that shit. Like,
what?
He sold 190,000 copies.
That still sounds good. Like,
yeah,
I'm not like as deep into music, but that doesn't sound bad.
Yeah, for today's standards, it's not bad at all.
So what was she, like number 2 or 3 on the charts or something? Like, what's the big deal?
Yeah, she wasn't number 1. So that just because again, everybody's celebrating Travis Scott album, and I guess hers isn't getting the pub because his album's supposedly better, way better. Okay.
Oh, I guess it doesn't matter who works on what. Like, it seems like a weird thing to say that all these people worked on the album. I was like, well, doesn't that wouldn't disqualify the fact that it's better than yours if that's true. That seems like an irrelevant.
Yeah, that's my thing. But whatever. People support that nonsense, so whatever.
I can't hear what Becky's saying, but I just love the angry.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I don't know what she's saying, but it looks like she's like really, really gonna beat somebody's ass. And Charlotte's coming out, and Charlotte, you're gonna get your ass whipped again. You better stay away from that ring.
Goddamn. Ginger and angry is a hell of a combination.
All right, so let's get over this last bit before he like fucking splooges in his goddamn seat. Oh gosh. Oh, and the last person to do
sorry, go ahead. And then the
last person to do some shenanigans was Republican Representative Duncan Hunter and his wife were indicted of campaign fraud. Basically misusing campaign funds, spending it on personal expenses, which what's a couple of things that are very interesting about this story. One, he's in a campaign currently for his seat. Two, he may still win that because even if he decides to quit, he's been in it long enough that his name's already on the ballot, so people can still vote him in. Which I find weird. And 3, he's probably getting a divorce because he blamed his wife for the shenanigans because she was his campaign manager, and he partially blamed that. So, we got a lot of politicians going to jail or people involved in like campaigns getting indicted and stuff like that. That's kind of crazy. I can't think of how
is it crazy. It's pretty normal now.
Yeah.
Depressing statement, but it doesn't feel too crazy.
But it should be. This is not norm.
So, my thought when I saw that,
Charlotte's just gonna get away ass whipped anyway.
You know what would be an interesting figure? And before I say this, let me say that it's not like, there's never been a Democrat caught in a scandal, right? That's happened. But I think what would be an interesting figure right now is how many Republicans. No, the number I want is how much money combined total has been caught up in these scandals from Republicans during this Trump era stuff. So like you add this to Scott Pruitt stuff, to Cohen stuff, to anything else, like money total caught up in scandal, how much is it right now? That's kind of the number I'm curious about. Because a lot of this we're talking about is supposedly like either taxpayer money or money from, you know, political donors and shit like that. Like it's money gotten in a bad way. So I'm curious what the total number is, because I feel like it would shock people to see this is how much money is caught up in all this corrupt ass shit.
Right. Like for this guy, they said hundreds of thousands of dollars in unusual charges as they frame them, which include Italian vacations, dental work, purchases at a surf shop, and huge tabs at bars and restaurants in Washington, D.C. and San Diego. Also, they paid for airfare for their pet rabbit to fly with the family.
So maybe this is just a stupid question on my part, but are they not making money with what they're doing?
They do, because that's the funny thing that you say that, because they said that he personally paid back 65,000 of it since the investigation has started. Because they questioned him for first spending on video games in 2006. What is this man doing? You gave back $65,000 for spending on video games? Sir, what the fuck? What are you doing gaming wise?
First of all, he's doing it better than we are. So let's give him some credit there. He's a better gamer than us, but I guess my real question was, is his salary such bullshit that he felt the need to steal this much money? I have to assume as a public official, he must be making enough to like live at least comfortably.
Especially since you get free housing usually. You get facilitated with like lots of perks and all that. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't understand the desire to even steal this money in the first place. I think maybe if you were already in some like insane debt that you were trying to get away from, you know, you needed to pay off a mob boss, like something, but it's just like, I guess in my head, I imagine these people as people who would have already been financially comfortable.
Yeah.
But fuck that. I want to be rich as shit and like throw down in the bars and apparently fly my rabbit out on the plane and shit.
I'm mad rabbits are getting vacations and I can't. Like, seriously.
Right?
This is ridiculous.
Their rabbit has more frequent flyer miles than I do.
Right, exactly. That's dumb. It's the political state that we're in, I guess.
Better question. When people steal money, why is it always spent on dumb shit like that? Like Manafort's ostrich jacket.
Right, exactly. Or like the pens that Pruitt did. Like, why do you need like $10,000 pens? The fuck?
I get if you're gonna get money, you're gonna like waste and shit like that, but like, it's always on the dumbest fucking things possible. Like things that don't even seem like that enjoyable.
No, if anything, it's like you're bragging about being able to abuse your power. Because yeah, like again, ostrich jacket, don't know why. You know, pins, don't know why. Fucking Ben Carson in the goddamn table. Things like that. It's like, what is the purpose? Like, I can see if you bought yourself a brand new car. That I would kind of understand that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like I've always wanted to get a fucking Aston Martin. I'm gonna go buy that. Okay, that's stupid, but I get it. It's just stuff that makes absolutely no sense. Like you can go to fucking Walmart and get a table. So,
I forgot about the Carson shit. Add that to the list of the money thing I was talking about. I need somebody to give us a total. You know what? Don't even give me the total for all the Republicans or whatever in general. Give me the total of like stuff we've talked about on the show. Like total dollar amount. How much money has been caught up in fuckery? Because I feel like individually they sound crazy, but I bet if you put them together and then told the taxpayers this was your money, maybe it would stick out more, obviously.
Yeah. Ridiculous. By the way, I'm sorry. I'm enamored again. Zelina is this damn girl. Anyway.
But what if it was
we need to get off because like SmackDown clearly is distracting me in ways that I shouldn't be distracted right now. Like it's one thing for the usual SmackDown shenanigans, but you guys are killing me.
I mean, Selena's a gorgeous woman, though. And let me say this, by the way, in case anybody's all like, "Oh, they just all go women." I also respect these ladies. I'm not saying that to fuck around because I was on Twitter earlier. I don't remember who it was, but I guess they were starting like some fitness thing, and I was like, it's crazy how like I look at a lot of the women workers now, and I'm like, fitness goals right there. Like Naomi's abs, like Naomi's gorgeous as shit. But like, if you were to just like check her out on one of these like fitness shots, her abs are like chiseled out of stone or some shit. It's just crazy. Charlotte.
She's an amazing athlete who does amazing ring work.
Yeah. When I said she was like a black female superhero, it's because of the shit where she like jumped off the ground onto the apron or something. I'm like, bro, that's not like 2 feet. That's a pretty high jump that you just did, like it was nothing.
Yeah, no, she does ridiculous shit. Like
so a lot of these women are just incredible athletes in general.
Yeah,
and
they are.
If you're ever like looking to get inspired for some fitness goals, there's some of these women that you could just follow and be like, man, look at them work out, be jacked as shit. Not jacked, toned, I guess. Finn Balor isn't the only person with abs in the WWE.
Yo, his abs are ridiculous. By the way, like that man his body fat is like non-existent.
But Johnny Gargano, though?
Yeah.
That guy's just a walking ab.
Yeah, he is like fucking ridiculous.
You know what really pissed me off was when him and Shawn Michaels had an ab off. And I was like, isn't Shawn Michaels like 100 years old? That's not fair. And then Shawn Michaels took his shirt off, and I was like, God.
Right, you're like, oh my God, why are you still in this? Like Shawn Michaels probably could still wrestle to this day and still perform like he did 20 years ago. That's the sad part. I can barely walk upstairs anymore, and this motherfucker here.
This dude's like in his mid-50s, and he has abs that are like.
Right.
I mean, I'm sorry. I know it's off topic, but you guys should like go on YouTube and find that video of Shawn Michaels, because I know even if you don't watch wrestling now, you know who Shawn Michaels is. Like, he was just that big a name. So if you watched it as a kid, you know who Shawn Michaels is. And you're probably thinking Shawn Michaels is old as fuck. Go watch that ab off between him and Mr. Johnny Gargano. This dude's abs are crazy. And he's like 52, 53 or something at the time.
Yeah, he's up there. He's not a young man at all. The man was wrestling in the 80s.
So fuck that guy. Anyway.
Yeah. In fact, let's see. Yo, that's Google. You're disgusting. So I typed Shawn Michaels. I actually typed it wrong because it's SHW. It's SHAWN. I don't know why I typed SEAN. You know what came up, right?
No.
The porn star.
I didn't know there was a porn star by that name.
Yes, there is. There's a porn star by the name. It's a black porn star by the name of Shawn Michaels. Who still does 60. But anyway, yeah, Shawn Michaels is 53 years old. Jeez.
I'm mad that you told me there's a porn star. It's just,
yeah,
I'm not happy about that.
I know, but I mean, he probably predates by the wrestler in the work. So I don't know. Anyway, we're done with this fiasco of a show.
So I gotta ask them real quick. in any of his porn videos, has he ever played Sexy Boy? I'm just asking.
To look at him, he shouldn't.
Okay.
Besides his attributes, it's just yeah.
But yeah. As we're closing up, I just want to say, like, I know we didn't skip, but we kind of blasted past the Cohen thing. It is really insane that he incriminated the president in his guilty plea. And I feel like because there's a lot of news happening right now, maybe we're not talking about it as much. Well, one, it happened today, like a few hours ago.
It was just like a huge blast of bullshit.
And there was a lot of stuff. So I'm assuming over the next couple of days, we will be hearing a lot more conversation about this. So I would say you guys should check out the news and see what happens there, because I'm very curious to see. It's not trivial, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at, that he said that shit in his guilty plea. I'm mad it didn't happen yesterday, because I feel like by today we would have some epic tweets to be talking about.
Yeah, I know. I think tomorrow you're going to get a lot of like analysis and deep discussion on this whole thing. And you're also in like sometime around 4 this morning, you're going to get Trump doing like a serious tweet blast about it. So stay tuned for that, people. It's coming. It's definitely coming. It's wild. But yeah.
On the money thing, fucking, what was it, 130,000 for one chick, 150,000 for another. That's like 280,000 right there in that scandal alone. All this money flowing around, and nobody's even trying to fuck me for $1. I'm just saying. Anyway.
Well, become a porn star.
I got a nice Spider-Man shirt. Like, nobody's, whatever.
Become a porn star. I mean, come up with the porn name. I'm sure you have some.
It just feels like everybody in America is getting fucked for money but me. That's all I'm saying. You know, whatever. Like, I'm pretty sure in a couple episodes, Black's gonna come out. You know what? It's probably gonna be like an Askfm thing. Like, when's the last time somebody fucked you for money? And you're gonna be like, I can't talk about it, but I got a nice payday.
Yeah, I wish.
Everybody but
Askfm, I really need some of you people with these questions to like stop. Like, I just got a question an hour ago while we were recording that makes no sense.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like maybe their question got cut off because it says full and crazy little bit. I want to go out with her. How do I ask her?
With your mouth? I don't know.
I'm trying to figure out what's the full and crazy little bit. Like, is he saying that she's wonderful and crazy? It's FUL. It's not like FULL. It's just FUL. So was there something preceding that?
Use full English, guys.
And then why? Who's a little bit? Or are you saying she's a little bit crazy?
I thought, I don't understand. I don't understand the slang used anymore.
I mean, I'm assuming if he's calling her a little bit, he's just saying she's tiny. Like,
I don't know.
But if you're just saying she's a little bit crazy, then okay, that I can understand.
I got one that said, "What is your outfit at the moment?" Like, if you're gonna try to fuck me, throw down 130K like everybody else.
Yeah. And then the like shout outs are worse because somebody shouted out any sexy ladies looking for a date. You don't go somewhere. Like, why are you shouting that out?
Yo, how are they supposed to answer though?
Exactly. Like, what are we like? It's an anonymous shout out, so they don't know what the fuck they're talking to. Like, why am I going to respond to that?
I feel like the type of person who responds to that is the type of person you shouldn't entertain.
Yeah, you shouldn't want to date because they're probably setting you up for something. And another question, I want to know about your reaction if I pulled your cheeks.
Bow chicka bow wow.
Again, what cheeks are you talking about? Are you talking about my face or are you talking about my ass cheeks? And
Is there
either way, why?
I got one that said cutest baby you know, and I was like, first of all, I don't be thinking about babies like that. But secondly, like what if I said the cutest baby I know is like little Phil or whatever? Like what does that mean to you as the questioner? Unless you know these babies.
You don't know that baby.
You better not know that baby. We need to have a different conversation if you do.
Another one, like, what's wrong but sounds right? Fucking Riddler, what are you doing? I'm not trying to like figure out the case. I'm not Batman. What the fuck? From where jealousy starts, is it comparison or what?
Is that one even English?
Right. How am I supposed to answer that if I don't understand it? Like, I really don't get like some of these things.
All that said, I am going to answer more of these because, well, first of all, my list is getting longer than I was expecting. But I'm sure at least one of these is like from you guys for real, and I will answer some. I'm still thinking. I haven't answered them because I'm still thinking about what my wildest fantasy is. That's obviously why I haven't answered them yet.
Somebody asked you that.
Of course.
That's interesting.
And I'm writing a book-long reply on my wildest fantasy. I want them to know every little detail.
Oh, Lord.
Her warm breath on my neck.
And on that note, we got to go. Remember to read 1984 so you can see how reality is mirroring that.
And read my erotic fiction novel coming out next fall.
Disgusting. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, listening. Appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll probably offend you some more next week. By the way, sorry Europe, and sorry all the countries I offended, and everything like that. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Black's a dick. I figured we should both apologize for you being a dick. Anyway.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. All right, you guys. Take care. We'll see you later. Peace.